What's up everyone, it's Scotty with MoneyVest. So we've got big Enphase earnings tomorrow. So this video I wanted to break down the entire expectations for Enphase stock and also go over the fundamentals, go over the seasonality and the technical analysis kind of leading up to the earnings tomorrow that are going to be very, very important for the stock, of course, because that's really what's going to dictate how Enphase ends up trading rest of the year. It's really going to set the tone for 2024. So hope you all enjoy this video and find it helpful. If you do, make sure that you drop a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining us and getting access to all the members only private videos, buy and sell alerts, options alerts, trade ideas, all the private chats, including our watch list and volatility spreadsheets, S&P 500 valuations. We're going to be starting a newsletter with some very actionable suggestions in that newsletter with technical levels that you can trade on as part of the membership very soon. So that's also going to be included with a link down below, and we'd love to have you on board. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about earnings expectations. So tomorrow after the markets close is when Enphase is going to be reporting. The expected earnings are 55 cents per share for EPS and revenues of sitting just over $327 million, with 15 downgrades is what we have seen for Enphase and about 4 upwards revisions, as we already know that Enphase is going through a tough time, and as a result we've definitely seen a little bit of that pullback. Not only a little bit, just a significant pullback from its all-time highs, but it continues to kind of trade in this range-bound pattern, and there's a lot of negative sentiment around this stock. Now, this is a seasonality chart for Enphase, and what's interesting is that actually February is one of the best months for Enphase over the last 10 years. So its 10-year average in the month of February is about 17.83% gain in the month of February. So that is actually the highest. If you take a look at, again, January, just under 5%, March and April are pretty brutal. Then we got May, June, July, and August are also green, but not as much as February. February tends to be the strongest month for Enphase, with 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017 being the best sort of contributors, with Enphase jumping at least 20 to as high as 55% in the months of February. And 2022, of course, 18.67%. And last year, it actually did not drop as much during the month of February. So it tends to be one of the stronger months for Enphase. So again, we'll find out what the company is going to do this month on the back of these earnings that are coming out. Now, as we already know, Enphase is one of the leaders in energy technology. And 2022 cash flows from operations were $744 million. Revenue last year was about $2.3 billion. They're going to be reporting for the fourth quarter 2023. So we're going to learn more about what the numbers look like for the entire year. There's still going to be growth on the revenue and cash flow and profitability basis. So that is something that I'm looking forward to. And when you take a look at Seeking Alpha and everybody that's covering Enphase, there's only sort of one bearish headline, which is also somewhat bullish, because Enphase is a high quality company, but over the short term, substantial headwinds the company is facing will prevail. Therefore, the 19% premium to the stock price is unfair and expect to pull back as well. But everything else seems to be a very bullish narrative, because the company is strong. As I've already mentioned, this is a company that has a lot of potential. It's a lot of untapped value here. But the market, of course, is not super favorable to what Enphase is trying to do. So Enphase's common equity is at least somewhat undervalued based on a DCF calculation using free cash flow from equity. And Enphase bottomed out in November before the Fed turned more dovish in December. It should spur a further recovery in 2024, as analyst estimates are highly pessimistic as well, which I'll go over later in the video. Now, in the third quarter, they reported revenues of about $551 million. That was a pretty decent drop compared to same time last year. So third quarter 22, it was $634 million. So the last couple of quarters for Enphase have been a little bit of a struggle, and gross margins 48.4%. So even though we have seen a margin expansion, revenues obviously did not do well compared to same time last year, and even quarter over quarter declined. Operating income was $167 million. That was also down quarter over quarter and year over year. And net income $141 million, also down year over year and quarter over quarter as well. Now this right here, for the entire 9 months, and despite the decline in the third quarter, and it's most likely that fourth quarter numbers are also going to be a decline, because if you take a look at revenue expectations, $327 million, I think that's coming down from over $400+ million same time last year. So even though we are going to see a decline on a year-over-year basis for the entire year, though, for the entire fiscal year 23, the company is still going to be growing on a revenue, profitability, and cash flow basis. So net revenues coming in at just under $2 billion so far. I think this year they're going to be able to achieve close to 2.4 billion dollars, which is going to be a pretty modest increase. And then profitability wise, as margins have expanded on a year-over-year basis, they're still going to be able to achieve somewhat of a higher operating income, net income, and profitability based on the earnings per share for the company as well. Now, balance sheet continues to be very strong, as I've already covered in one of my previous videos. So $1.5 billion of marketable securities, $290 million of cash. So we're looking at around, close to $1.7 billion in cash and marketable securities. And of course, we've got, debt, non-current debt sitting at about under $1.2 billion for the company as well. And this right here is going to be the profitability grid. So gross margins sitting at 45%, net margins at 21%. And then we've got a return on common equity, capital, and assets also pretty strong at 16, 18, 20% for the business. And valuation also tends to be pretty reasonable, I would say. I mean, compared to the 5-year average, Enphase trading at about 18, 19 times earnings multiple definitely makes this a somewhat of a reasonably priced stock. Enterprise value to EBITDA, we're looking at 19 to 20. Price to sales a little bit under 6, and price to cash flow at 15 to 19 times. Definitely makes Enphase, a lot better value for money compared to a lot of other stocks out there, especially semiconductors. The only thing that's lacking, of course, is the sentiment and the momentum behind Enphase's price action. So this right here is going to be the earnings expectation. So $4.40, that's expected to decline over the next couple of years, especially in 2024, and then accelerate back up to over $8.21 for the company going into the rest of 2024 all the way through 2030. Now, this is the overall technical analysis. And as you guys already know, that we had a short trade idea on Enphase. We pinpointed this perfectly back in December of 22. And since then, obviously, Enphase dropped over 78, 79%. It did spark a huge rally of over 88, 90%. From lows of about $74 back up to almost $140. And right now we're seeing a lot of consolidation sideways once again for Enphase, with a massive resistance sitting right over here at $124, $125. Again, you can see that this was a previous support level, which is now somewhat acting as a little bit of a resistance once again for Enphase. So this right here is going to be clearly that resistance to watch, and support level is going to stay put roughly around here. That's going to be in line with that $73, $74 per share. If you go over to the daily chart, what you'll notice is that maybe there's one more support level to watch for Enphase around here. That's going to be sitting roughly at $95. 95, that's exactly where we bounced off of over here on December 12th. And then, of course, rallied a little bit over 47, 48%. But, if the company misses expectations on earnings or revenue and does not provide us with a solid, good 2024 guidance, if analysts don't hear what they want to hear for 2024, then it's possible that it ends up breaking down further, below $95 and maybe makes its way back down to low 70s once again, because the sentiment, the momentum is very, very weak right now for Enphase. So I'm going to be very honest, the potential downtrend here, trading below the moving averages, going into the earnings that already look pretty weak, declines year over year, and guidance is really what's going to save the day for Enphase. If, of course, the management expects the interest rates to be a little bit softer towards the end of this year and for demand to come back in for this company. That's the only thing that can actually save Enphase stock and potentially see a recovery back up to 120s and 130s with a 15 to 20% rally after the earnings. So, it's going to be a very, very important quarter, and more importantly, a very important guidance for 2024. That's really what's going to dictate the price action. But valuation, even at $99, some $100, seems to be reasonably priced. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think about Enphase? Long term, we're talking 5+ years out. I still believe Enphase has got a lot of potential. And no doubt, I think there is going to be value that's going to be created and untapped for Enphase long term. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, make sure that you drop a like. Support level $95 down to 70s, low 70s, and resistance back up to 124, 130s for Enphase going into the earnings tomorrow. So as always, make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below. And as always, happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.